can't get no rest. No, no, I've been down so long that my mind can't get no rest. No, no, this ain't easy, darling, 'cause the devil's on my trail. I've been running so long that my feet don't work no more. Oh yeah, I've been running so long that my feet don't work no more. Oh no, it ain't easy, darling, when the devil's on my trail. Oh yeah.
Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of 6 Feet Apart with Sean and TJ. Once again brought to you by the fine folks. We're those fine folks.
Yeah.
The sponsors here at Felix E. Martin Jr. Hall. And our guest today, very special guest today, our first member of the healthcare professional world. I think that's right.
That's right.
As I said, Dr. Jekyll's been here all along, but this is our first official doctor who does good things. Dr. Billie Galyen from Community Health Centers of Western Kentucky. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, you guys.
Good
I'm
to have
excited to be on the show.
Everybody's clamoring to get on, right? Ones of people are lined up to get on.
Calling all the time. So how's Brother John?
He's great. We've texted a little bit today, so he's excited. He knew about your show before I did. And
Well, I was hoping he would come with you, he would sit next to you, and then we could introduce you guys as Mr. and Mrs. Dr. Billie Galyen today, because
he would love that.
it's an inside joke at church. And,
Definitely.
I'm sure he would love that. Yeah.
He says, I'm always known as Mr. Dr. Billie Galyen.
You know, I think he
Where's he
kind of
going?
likes that. Yeah, he would be good. We could banter.
But now, did he finish his doctorate yet? Because
No,
that was,
no.
because you're going to put on the mailbox, doctor and doctor.
Yeah, we should. Doctor squared.
We just address each other back and forth like that. Oh, doctor, doctor, doctor.
You like that?
He would like that.
Spies like us?
Spies like us.
Yeah. No reason in the world I should know that. But anyway. Enough of our nonsense.
Right.
You've got more important things to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. As our first healthcare professional who's been on here, what can you share with us about things here, especially in Montgomery County, with the COVID-19 pandemic?
It's been a crazy time. Definitely something I never would have dreamed that I would live through. You know, we've studied pandemics and learned about things from the past. This is a time when history really helps, because this harkens back to the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. And I had heard that they could occur every 100 years, but never dreamed of this. In fact, I look back on it, we've known about coronaviruses, at least in our study, since medical school, and they're just one of many cold viruses. And so I would say it would be January of this year when I first heard about it. It was from my husband, Brother John. John scans the headlines every morning, and he had said to me, what do you think about this coronavirus thing in China? And I dismissed it because I thought, oh, that's the common cold virus, and it is. But as time went on, I heard the word novel coronavirus, and I know that means not a novel book, but new. So it's a new virus, and that did, I mean, I don't want to say scared, but it did, because when a new virus comes out, you have to ask why. And we don't know exactly the origin. I do remember thinking in my mind, who made it? Because, you know, that's just unusual to go from an animal to people. We still don't know. We know there is a lab that deals with SARS viruses. And then again, I thought too, maybe this will be minimalized. Maybe this will just peter out. But as I looked at the numbers, I'm a math person. And it's funny, John is more a history person, which really goes well with this, because I didn't know a lot about that flu pandemic except about the flu. I knew a lot of people died. But when you looked at the math, I was like, oh my goodness, because it's a math thing. And in fact, if my sister's watching this, Penny, my sister's a math teacher, she was taking a cruise not knowing how big this was going. And when she looked at the numbers and saw exponential growth, it was different than just the flu. So yeah, it's been really interesting to watch unfold, to see how worldview, I never thought worldview would affect how we would battle or prevent a virus, and also politics. It's been interesting to see how different leaders have approached it or avoided it, how conspiracy theorists have come out, how age makes a difference on how you view mortality, and then also risk. And from the moment it started, and it was a Master's of Theology through an online degree with seminary just a couple years ago. And one of the topics is apologetics and also ethics and moral ethics. And as soon as this popped up, and I could see the age, because this virus slices off the top in age. And that bothered me. And I remember turning to John and saying, this will be an ethical dilemma. Because at first, yes, you don't want your grandma to die. But with time, we have seen, oh, they have a pre-existing condition. I'm going to the party. So I hate to sound grave from the get-go. I would love to talk about fun things, but it's been hard and interesting as well. And I hate to say interesting, because being a math person, and I've always loved infectious diseases. If Dr. Hawkins watches this video, she'll understand, because there's this weird thing with being a doctor. You hate to see suffering. You hate to hear of a new diagnosis, but there's this little part of your brain that's like, wow, that's really kind of interesting. Yeah. From an epidemiologic standpoint, by the fact of what kind of virus it is, what it does to the body, how some people can carry it and have no symptoms at all, or just have a flu-like illness, or be on a ventilator for 2 weeks. So it's wild times.
And that interest is what allows us to study it and learn from it. So
right.
So get that. Get rid of those pesky millions of deaths would be okay.
Yes. Yes.
But from bottom line standpoint, from a doctor's point of view, fact-based, it's real.
It's real.
And it's serious.
It's serious. You may never have it. You may get it and not be sick. But there's that fraction that I would hope, this is where our Christian worldview comes into. Like, some people, and I want to say, you can be an atheist and be moral and goodwill toward people, so I don't want to say that. But this is where your view of life comes in, on humanity, on caring enough for an inconvenience. And also it's odd because, see, this is invisible. Viruses you can't see. So even as adults, we know that, and kids have to have that explained as far as hand washing. But it's very much rubber meets the road now, because we, in our actions, demonstrate whether we really think it's there. But it's difficult times. It is an interesting time as Americans. We're used to, and we enjoy freedom. And I enjoy freedom. I don't like being overmanaged. I don't like having a list of, I have to do this. But I'm hoping and praying humanity or people will rise to the occasion. And they have. In fact, a lot of people have been really patient. I mean, my mom is a widow, and she lives in a different home. And we have waited on hugging each other. We just recently did with mask on, and I always recommend you carry hand sanitizer. Masks do help, and we can talk about that more, but droplet is the main thing you want to avoid. The sneezing and also talking, because they're seeing with infectious disease that speaking, especially loud talking, is what droplets spread. So, but yeah, I think we've been patient as a society. I think we're so blessed. This is a time where actually I really feel really blessed to live in a rural community, because literally we have space. So when this hit Italy, and even of course China, you have body to body. You can't even go buy a tomato without being body to body, because it's dense humanity markets and dense living. Like in Italy, all those little apartments, it was just one after the next. It was really difficult to control. in Italy. Finally, I think once the reality set in, they set rules, but for a while they didn't because it just wasn't well understood. But in our area, physically, even our homes have space around them. We have free-flowing, fresh breeze. We can have church outside. We can space out seating because space does make a difference. The 6 feet does help.
We can film a talk show with an imaginary audience.
Right.
Yes,
Keep all our characters safe,
that's right.
even if they're not exactly 6 feet apart.
They look so excited to be here.
They are.
They are.
They look forward to this every
We make them keep it down.
Scooby-Doo's my favorite.
So, obviously, there's been a lot of changes, probably weekly, if not daily, in your world at work.
Definitely.
And give people an idea of what services are being offered now and what they can do if think they may be
What they can
testing, what they can expect from that, and
Right.
how to go about doing that.
So as a disclaimer, I'm a pediatrician. I deal with babies from birth to 19, sometimes even a little older. So if someone's watching this and they're an internist, they really understand. They've had people probably die of this, and also your hospitalists. So I want to speak from that pediatric point of view. So early on, even though we could see the math of it, we didn't see a lot of cases, thankfully. And people were really careful about their kids, knowing kids touch everything. And even at church, we don't see a lot of little ones because you can't really control everywhere they go. But we have been so fortunate. I want to brag on our office. Our office is a community health center here, and we have never had to close. I know doctors' offices that have had to furlough. In fact, and maybe that would have been nice. I would have liked quarantine, maybe, because I have office friends in Louisville, because it's densely populated, that had to do half and half staff. Or maybe they didn't have the resources to see less patients. So at first it was a little weird because people were staying at home. So we've done telehealth. We also, like if someone has an earache, we're going to see them because I can't do that on telehealth. Early on, we've always been watching, and if anyone watching this wants to check, cdc.gov is one of the best resources. You just click a button, you can look at your life. There's even one of those robot people where it says, do you need to be tested? So you can find out, do you need to be tested? But we've used their guidelines. It took a while, though, for guidelines to come out for us. So we had to just use common sense. So a 4-day-old baby has to be seen and needs a jaundice check, and yet I don't want them to be exposed to the hospital. So we have a little skin scanner, and we get them in as soon as we open. I have to brag on our staff too because we wipe down constantly. The whole place is wiped down. We have a waiting room just for the non-fever. We've done car visits. We've had companies donate PPE to us. Logan Aluminum was the first one, and I don't even know how we would have done it without their help at first because we had like a few gowns if you would lance a boil, but it wasn't common to wear a gown and definitely not an N95 mask. So we've been able to keep up care. And I mean, those car visits are interesting of me climbing in the car, little baby in the car seat, but it's amazing what people have ingenuity. Not only the office, but our patients. I've had parents say, I want a car visit just because they really don't want to walk in the building. And, rashes, we've been approved to do Facebook Messenger with those, if it's something I can do visually. And so in May, we realized we needed vaccines, and that's something I really want to stress today, is kids need preventative care. If we may be avoiding this virus, but we don't want them to have meningitis and whooping cough.
Right, because there's things that can happen on the periphery because of this virus, right? Because people are scared and they don't
Normal
want to get out, but they
things,
still need to be
yes.
seen.
Yes,
So-
and what about, this has been kind of neat too, because some of my moms and dads have been home. Initially, a lot of workplaces were furloughed or unemployment. So they've been noticing things about their kids. Like I have seen a lot of lymph nodes because they're just home and they're like, oh, what's that? And it's been a node they probably had their whole life. But you don't want to ignore the lump behavior. I've seen some families say, wow, I never noticed she does this with their hair and then pulls it out, like behavior things, anxiety. Kids have mental health just like adults, and we're so thankful we have several counselors in our office, and they have never stopped seeing patients or doing telehealth. So medical health is super important. Even when you're trying to avoid the building, you definitely want to use discernment. So we ask everyone to call us. I've done lots of phone calls, and sometimes the counseling's for the parent. You know?
That's great that you do have the mental health services there, because the kids, they don't have a routine right now. They're missing school, they're missing actual classes, they're missing sports, they're missing theater, missing band, whatever their thing is that they have in their life.
For mental health, absolutely. And that's why I loved, the first show of yours I saw was Melanie. And I love that she thinks about that, because dance, some people may say, oh, that's just dance. It's very important to kids.
That is their world.
It is. And reaching out to them, I mean, not everyone has this little perfect home to have investment in those kids. So that's why we are really looking at school starting. I think kids need it. They need the structure, but I do think each person's going to be different. You know, we may have kids that have a transplant situation and maybe they have to be homeschooled. I don't know how that's going to flesh out now. We're really watching the numbers. I'm so thankful for Robbie Davis, who is being thoughtful about that, and our leaders. Again, I'm so thankful I love living in Muhlenberg County because, you know, I'm thankful for our governor. You know, I didn't even know who he was hardly, I hate to say, until this happened. And so at work, we would turn on the Andy's on at 4. You know, I love steady leadership regardless of who you voted for or what your political leanings are. Like in our county, just people thinking through, like Curtis McGee, on how the fact we offer free testing here. That's another thing to mention is we did start that. So we have free drive-through testing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 3, and there's no age limit.
Make an appointment, or you just drive
You
up?
drive right up.
Like McDonald's?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And it takes a little while to get the test in. At first, each test we get, one will take 2 days. We are working on getting the 15-minute test, which is really amazing, because the soonest I had heard was a 2-hour PCR at Vanderbilt, but the 15-minute test is available in Madisonville, but it has to be by appointment. But we're working on that, and we're actually on the list to get that. So, but yeah, it's tricky. Every day is different. We're watching numbers and trying to make good decisions.
The drive-up testing is great, and you're thankful to have that headrest
Yes.
to brace against
Well,
when it goes up your
actually,
nose.
our
and stuff.
test is nasal. When we started, it was nasopharyngeal, and I've had that twice, by the way.
Yeah.
It's quite special. That's when you have to it's like your yogic breathing, because they actually recommend you close your eyes, and they did a great job. It's weird, like you feel it going in, you feel it in the front, and then there's no feeling because there's not a lot of nerves there until they touch the back.
Yeah. And then your brain doesn't itch anymore, and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
done.
like, wow, they itched my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
been
it's worse than
negative
the flu
both
swab.
times. Huh?
It's worse than the flu spot.
It's about like the flu swab, the one we have now. It's just a 360-degree turn in both nostrils. So, but I like them to get a good swab. I'm like, if I'm checking myself or a child, I want some snot and epithelial cells on there. So we try not to hurt anyone. Did you know what the kids have done well with it? I've done swabbing for COVID for kids. By the way, it's so interesting. At first, this shows you, I'm like, what do the initials mean? That means coronavirus disease 2019. But the official name is SARS-CoV-2. But yeah, no one knows that one.
Kids probably do better because they haven't
They
built it
do.
up in their mind how
Right.
horrible it's going to be, whereas we as adults were dreading it the entire time.
Yeah, they're tough little cookies.
Yeah.
And so far, the ones I have swabbed have been negative, but we are seeing positives in asymptomatic carriers through our drive-through. That's why you've seen like 13 positive in one day on Muhlenberg. I think today I saw there was 1 return. That's the interesting part. The more testing you do, the more positives you're going to find, and some may be asymptomatic, which does not make them not contagious. So we need to use wisdom on being home. When you go out, wear a mask, carry hand sanitizer, and please don't give the Walmart people trouble. I saw that the other day. And they're so sweet. They're smiling, and they have to say it is required, but they can't jump them and put handcuffs on them, so please be nice. I feel like, I know a lot of people don't like masks, and believe me, I had to get used to it. It's that yoga breathing again, but it is for other people. So I tell people that all the time.
Right.
It's to protect you from me.
Right, because when you wear it in the office, you're wearing masks and gloves to prevent cross-contamination from one person to another, right?
Right.
It's the
I
same
see
principle.
lots of people. Absolutely. And babies are affectionate, snotty. So we do precautions, and I want to protect that next person.
Could you imagine a few years ago, whenever Kentucky state law, we had to start wearing seatbelts?
Oh,
Facebook was not around then, but could you
Right.
imagine if Facebook had been around whenever that came down?
there
It
was
would
a
have been-
lot of pushback on that.
Yeah.
That's why
It would
I
have been the
said to
same
John
thing.
too,
And
I
now-
don't want to be the last state on everything, because we were almost the last state on seatbelts,
Yes.
like 48 or 49. I don't know.
But
It
now I can't think of hardly anybody that doesn't get in the car and the first thing you almost automatically do is put on a seatbelt. Because
Right.
we know. Now I don't want to wear a mask the rest of my life if we don't have to, but
Absolutely.
it's not near as bad as all that. It's really
Yeah.
not.
And what you're thinking of is the person on the vent. And this is the thing. I've had some people say, I don't care if I die. And I'm glad they're secure. Like, I mean, and they use spiritual reasons. They'll say, I'm saved, I'm fine. And that's true. I'm so thankful they feel that way. The problem is they could expose other people. And secondly, we don't have enough vents. And when this started, I was like, wow, we have like 6 ICU rooms and 3 vents in Muhlenberg County. So somehow, and I don't want to say somehow, God's grace plus I think people actually going by guidelines have kept it low enough. We haven't gotten to where we have had to say, sorry, you don't get a vent. Because in New York, they had to create a ethical diagram on whether you could have a vent. So if you were over 85, you didn't get a vent. If you had COPD, you didn't get a vent. If you had diabetes, you didn't get a vent because they didn't have enough vents. That's why there's such a thing on, making vents and getting the support, because we don't want to overwhelm the medical system. And also the more, and unless they're gonna, this sounds so cruel. I think unless you're gonna get a DNR bracelet and say, don't vent me, because otherwise by saying that and being flippant about it and really rebellious, actually, I feel like it's very flippant. It's saying, I will take your vent from you. I mean, because it could happen. Now, it is a small percentage in a sense. There's a large percentage that get infected, but it gets higher and higher after 50 and less than 1. But 50, it's doubles. And then over 85, it's skyrocket. Yeah.
You're almost there.
I got a few months to
I'm
hang on.
telling you, I know, I'm 48. And I've had friends, one of my friends, her husband's 43, on the vent for 2 weeks, healthy. He came off, but they still have difficulty because of hypoxia. And that's the thing, my partner, Kim, is in therapy. I mean, it changes you. And one of those always changes, so.
Well, they were just discussing on NPR today that because we don't know everything there is to know about the virus yet, but the long-term effects, we don't know what they all are yet. They could be pulmonary, they could be associated with your heart, or they could be, somebody said they had evidence of neurological damage with your brain,
Right.
basically. Seems like
Well said.
Yeah, that's
right.
But I
you
talked
have
to my friend, and she has noticed that because she doesn't know how much is the mental versus the low oxygen, because it's hard to vent these patients. And that's why it is interesting, but like the respiratory damage, like you said, asthma later, COPD, needing oxygen, being more likely to get pneumonia again. And we don't know yet if you've had it, do you have lifelong immunity? Because to assume it's like measles is to assume a lot, because flu is not like that and the common cold is not like that.
Right.
So I tell people, pray for a safe and efficacious vaccine. Of course, pray that God would just get rid of it or mutate it to a lesser form. And then for medicines. So we are seeing some benefit to certain antivirals. But we have to have enough too, because remdesivir, I can't even say that one. It's a similar word to Tamiflu, Remdesivir, is showing effectiveness, but there's not enough of it. So we just want to be common sense and
Think about everybody.
patient. It's hard.
You hate the mask, you're really going to hate the ventilator. So
I know.
do the decent thing and
I
wear it.
know, and again, and it is hard. I know a lot of people say, well, I don't know a single person who has it, and I found out that my great uncle died of it last week, and I didn't even know. I didn't obviously know him. He's in Arizona. My mom's family's from Arizona, and I want to think back what day it was, because I was like, Mom, wonder how Uncle Don is doing, because he was the only one left from that generation. So it may have been that he got it and got pneumonia. He was in a nursing home. So that's the hard thing. Nursing homes, of course, the prison. We were doing well on our numbers until it got into a dense population. So that's where it tends to thrive. And meat factories, because anywhere people have to be side by side. So I've been, like I said, impressed with ingenuity. I love to brag on our businesses because we love Chinese food and we go to Copper Creek. Well, you know, you can't just walk in, but they have a great system. I'm going to brag on them while I'm here, but like I got there and I took pictures because I thought, wow, this is when people use their brain, and plus they may have friends in China who've been sick. I don't know, but they're well aware. They have a cabinet, they have plexiglass, and they built it. It's like all sealed with a little hole for the cash, a little slit that goes in the card reader. You wait for them to put the food in and close their cabinet, and then you open your cabinet, and there's hand sanitizer. So I think there's ways we can have life, you know, because John and I do eat out a lot.
People are finding ways to maintain their business and
And the economy,
to stay open.
being adaptable.
Yeah, that's where all this came from, was finding new
That's
ways to reach
right.
an audience.
Yes.
Well, we'll talk more about that and other things and get that information back to you again as far as testing. When we come back, now we're from our sponsors here on 6 Feet Apart with Sean and TJ. Welcome back to 6 Feet Apart with Sean and TJ, and thanks as always to our sponsors here at Felix C. Martin Jr. Hall for their support over the years and allowing us to keep doing what we do. We're here talking with Dr. Billie Galyen from the Community Health Centers of Western Kentucky, and lots of great information in that first segment, and just to sort of recap what is available, what do people need to do if they need testing, and how can they get it, and where do they go?
All right, so there's lots of ways now. We've gone through steps. You know, we have a drive-through at the hospital. We have drive-through at our office Tuesday and Thursdays 1 to 3, and we may expand that with time. We started that just as a need, and you really can go online too. CDC.gov, Kroger Health has sites. If you even go to Kentucky.gov, I really love our state page because there's a whole section on the COVID-19 or coronavirus. So there's lots of ways. The main reasons to get tested is if you know you're exposed, or you have fever, cough, shortness of breath, or lack of smell. Really, in general, it's a flu-like symptoms. Today, I saw a little guy who he had a runny nose, and the mom was scared. I looked at his nose, it looked just like allergies. No fever, he was happy-go-lucky, and we do have high pollen. Now, sometimes you wonder if some of those kids, you know, could be positive, but we didn't swab because we didn't see those classic symptoms. But if you know you've been exposed, the main thing too is try not to get exposed. We don't recommend parties of back-to-back people. I love church, but go where you can go and respect that, because if you go and just fall into a pile of people, you don't know where all of they have been, and then you go, and then the thing is you have to think back, if I am positive, how many people do I have to call? Is my mom, who's 75, gonna need a vent? So I know that sounds harsh, but it's just mathematical. So like concerts, if you're outdoors and can spread out, be on a picnic, because you can be with your household and you kind of have to think of who's my household. Like I said, my mom, I watch out for her, and we see our family, but even then we had a 4th of July thing, and it was outside and people wore masks if they were close together. But in the outdoors we can spread out, be over 6 feet apart. So there's ways to do this, and keep hand sanitizer with you. Don't be afraid. And think about it, you have to kind of get practice. Like you'll notice I wave around my hands, but I try not to touch my face.
Mm-hmm.
If I do, I immediately slap some hand sani on. I just carry it with me. And they've got it everywhere now, that whiskey stuff, that stinky stuff. You can get it. Soap and water obviously is great too. But if you think, so say, this is a big one I've noticed, if any women out there who need to pee a lot, okay? So like you're out driving, you need to go, and before you just be like, oh, I'll pull up, it's a nice gas station. Well, you're touching a handle to get in the gas station, you're touching a handle to get in the bathroom, a flush, a sink. So bring your hand sanitizer with you, wear a mask. You can often open things with your elbow, I've noticed. I do a lot like that, or use your body to come out. So once you wash, you can use your body to come out and not touch
Your foot.
anything. Yes,
I use my foot all the time to open doors.
Yes.
If it's paper towels, I dry my hands and then
Grab
Use
yeah.
it
use
to,
it and then
yes,
throw it away.
toss,
Yeah.
yeah. It's almost like we're all pretending to be surgeons right now. It's like scrub.
Right.
But I mean, you have to think the invisible things. I'm itchy on my nose all the time, so I do a lot of hand
I know I'm
sani
doing this right now
to avoid.
I sit like this all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have to try to
So it
think not to
takes
do but I-
practice. I mean, nothing's perfect, and y'all know, and I want to say this because kids won't do this. I'm just telling you. I mean, we can teach them, and some kids are better than others, right? A lot of my kids have sensory issues. And my adults do too. I've seen so many. We always offer a mask as they come in. We're doing checkups, by the way, I want to plug. We're doing sports, we're doing 6th grade, so please get your checkup made. But it's hard because they want to touch and fiddle, and so it takes practice. The ones I've seen that do it well are ones that have already done it before. So it's like the seatbelt. And they'll do whatever their parent does. Now, if y'all are like a lot of us, they may have not been very many places. So I talked to Mom today about just practicing at home, about what that feels like. And then some kids just might not be able to wear one. Some people who have severe asthma can feel suffocating feelings, so make sure your mask, it doesn't have to be this giant, thick mask. We're talking respiratory droplet protection. Because they're not, I mean, they are going to be close to people, but usually you don't need those tight respiratory masks unless you're going to be in an airway being sprayed. So just something soft and easy to wear. It's not easy sometimes learning those new habits.
but there are habits that affect not only yourself, but everyone else
Yes.
as well.
And I'm all about freedom, you know. Like I said, I don't want a lot of rules, but this is kindness. And that's why I say to people who want to walk in, and I really have this on my mind because I think about like stores after 5 o'clock Friday. People almost purposely went to stores to show I'm not going to wear a mask and you can't arrest me. And so that's true, but why wouldn't we be kind? It's easy, and actually it's a good example. I've been impressed like by people trying. And then we have, honestly, a lot of elderly people love to go to the store. It's been tough. I mean, you guys know my little friend who's 98. He loves going to the grocery. It's been hard. Sometimes it's hard. Someone needs to show how to do a mask. Make sure they have a mask, maybe gift masks. There's been different, I think Felix Martin has masks for businesses, and so I feel like that's good.
Right.
The Martin Foundation.
Yes.
And they're available through the chamber as well.
Oh, good.
Probably the same program, but
Yeah.
the chamber's a
Masks for Nuremberg.
Oh, and don't put masks on if they're less than 2. I've seen babies and they're so cute. Like people will get these little cute dinosaur masks and they've got it on a 2-month-old. But babies can have SIDS. Now, while they're awake, they're not going to just die, but it's not good for babies to have their face suppressed. So that's why also adults, we want to wear masks for the sake of those little ones. So, and those little ones who have great fear. I have kids with autism. It might be fearful for them, but I've had some kids walk right in and don't care a thing about wearing them. So.
Now you mentioned physicals and health checks and those type of things. So obviously, the rest of the health world did not stop because of COVID-19.
Right.
So, what else is going on there at Community Health Center?
Yeah, we don't want measles outbreak. Measles is not treatable. I'll just leave it there. It is you die or you live through it. So at 1 year of age and at 4, you need a measles vaccine. And if you've never had a measles vaccine, you can catch up. So like we want our kids to not get preventable disease, because right now we don't have a COVID-19 vaccine, but we do have polio vaccine. And there's places in the world you can get polio by swimming. And if you talk to someone old enough, they remember it was here. You go to a pool and then you have polio. We've had a president with polio,
There's
FDR.
at least 2 survivors in this county right now.
Yes.
One of them being my mother.
Oh, that's right. I never thought, yes. So, yeah, and then I mentioned meningitis. That is still prevalent. Prevnar covers pneumonia and preventable pneumococcal meningitis. So there's so many things. Just talk to us. Like if you're a non-vaccinator, we can do a la carte. We don't prefer, we like to stay with the American Academy of Pediatrics standards, but we want to keep our families safe, because when you keep kids vaccinated, it also helps their families. Because some adults may not be able to afford a whooping cough vaccine, but their child gets it through their medical card, and that keeps it from your home as well. So at least that's what they mean by herd immunity. It sounds bad like cattle, but when you vaccinate, it helps the whole society, like chickenpox. We have residents and med students who don't even know what it looks like except in a book. And I had it at 4, and most people my age, we know what it looks like. But it's a blessing, because during, I want to say, was it 95 when that vaccine came out, and we've almost gotten rid of it. And that wasn't we say, oh, that wasn't a bad disease. Well, there were 600 deaths a year, and those are deaths we don't have. Rotavirus, we used to get 20 admissions for profound diarrhea every winter. Those are 0. And that's a little sugar liquid we give
Where
to
was
babies.
that when my kids were little? Because
I know, they had it, didn't they? They
My
did,
goodness.
because they were right on that age
Yep.
frame. That's why the Hep A was added as mandatory last year, because there's that window where they didn't have Hep A, because back then it was like if you went to Mexico or Costa Rica or California maybe, but now that's a foodborne hepatitis you can get from a buffet. So like we learning, it's God-given knowledge, it's not bad, and it's for the whole of society. So we want our kids to not have to worry about those diseases. I mean, it's an awesome thing as pediatricians that most of what we do is preventative and mental health, because it used to be half our kids died by winter who were less than 2. It was like 50-50 on infants back in those days before penicillin. So we're thankful for that. And I think about those scientists now. We do have steps of study on a COVID-19 vaccine. And this new stage, I think, has tens of thousands. Like it started with 100 people and they did well. So like that's the steps to get to a vaccine. And it probably will come out for adults and then be like 3 and up, and then 1 and up, and maybe 6 months and up, because that's how the flu vaccine was developed. So, and we will offer that October 1, so start our flu vaccine. It'd be great if we had a combo, but I don't think we'll have one that soon.
October.
We want a safe one too, so we're not trying to be
Right.
mad scientists.
I hate to rush one out. And
I resemble that remark. Well, not to be all gloom and doom, and hopefully we haven't been. I think it's been very informative, but let's maybe lighten the mood a little bit. And a segment we like to do is called Bridging the Gap, and that sort of gives our viewers a chance to get to know our guests a little better. So let's give people a little more insight into what makes you tick and
Good.
where you came from. What brought you to this spot? Not
Yes.
this actual spot, because it's probably a phone call to teach you.
Yes.
But what got you interested in medicine in the first place?
Well, and it's funny when you say that. I thank God, period. But yes, so my family moved here when I was in 7th grade from Arizona. So I'm going to give my birth story.
There you go.
But my dad's family's from Drakesboro. We went to Hugheskirk. I love Beachmont. From there, went to Hugheskirk, graduated, went to Vanderbilt because we were
your
on food
last class
stamps.
of Hugheskirk, or-
Yes, 1990. I'll do like Melanie, go Tigers.
Right.
But yeah, so I went into biomedical engineering because I love math and living things, and thankfully that avenue was available somehow. I can't believe that school, and that's where I really got on more of a faith walk as well. And then I changed my mind here and there, was going to be a teacher. I love kids, but I love like helping people reach their potential. So I had one interview that was late in the medical school season as a senior when I was in college. My parents were so upset because I wasn't going to do medicine at that time, but I got a ride because, see, I still didn't have a car. I got a ride. Somehow I found something to wear, and it was like a Cinderella thing because Louisville was the only place that offered me a late season interview, and they offered admission the day of the interview, and they said, we felt like if we didn't, you wouldn't come. So that's what started that process, and it's so cool because teaching is like pediatrics, and so it made sense. So I went there and didn't know I was going to do pediatrics, but when I had peds rotations, I loved it. I also love surgery and a lot of other stuff, but the kids were so amazing that age, it was similar to the elderly as well. I love that group. No offense to our age, but I found the 45-year-old man to be my least favorite patient. Like, they didn't want to listen to me. No offense to all you. I've just lost everybody.
I'm glad I'm not a 45-year-old man.
So anyway,
I remember being one, but
I'm not there yet.
well,
But I got to do residency there back when it was Cosair Children's, and now it's Norton Children's. And honestly, at that point, and being single, I thought, oh, I love Muhlenberg, I love my family, but oh, that will not go. I cannot. But I had a scholarship through the hospital where if you come back, they help relieve your debt. And I drug my feet for 3 years and really disobeyed God because I knew I was supposed to go. But I had this great job as I was a faculty with U of L. I had all these students, but dragged my feet and finally gave in to the Lord, who knew my husband was in Livermore, basically, and the fact that my patients were here. You know, I had your kids from birth.
From birth.
Yeah, Delaney Janie.
From before birth.
Yes, you met me before. So, and I give kudos to Dr. Prunty because he reached out to me. I was literally wondering how I could do this. At the time, Dr. Hawkins had a partner, Dr. Baggiani, and didn't need anyone. So that's how Dr. Prunty brought me down. I basically rented space and got started. It was tough because I was, living with my parents the first 6 months, didn't have any income, any malpractice insurance. So it was starting from scratch. But I've been so blessed because those first patients were people who trusted me. Especially some of the Beachmont, my Hugheskirk friends came out of the woodwork.
Right.
And then after 3 years, I thought actually I would go back to Louisville because I was like, oh, this is so, I'm not a natural entrepreneur, and it was hard being in practice for myself. That's when Dr. Hawkins and I had a conversation. And at that time, Dr. Knatzer was getting out of her building, and there were 3 rooms available. And my heart is the community health center because when I worked in Louisville, it was always for free medical clinic, like where it's not free, right? So like Medicaid, sliding scale, but I didn't want people turned away because in private practice, it's more business, but at CHC, I just work. I just see patients. I'm better that way. Give me a check every 2 weeks, but I love seeing everyone who calls or hits the door. But yet our office feels like a private office. It's beautiful, and so thankful Dr. Hawkins reached out to me. And that's when I was set up on a blind date with John Michael Galyen. And
the aforementioned
Yes.
Right.
And then I became a
Mr. Doctor,
stepmom.
Mr. Dr. Billie
Yeah.
Galyen.
Yeah, so it was so cool because, you know, I was 35 when we married, never thought I'd have a family. And then the Lord gave me 4 boys. So it's been really cool. And then being in pastor life, wow. Love Lee's Chapel, we were there. I was there 12 years, he was there 13. And then the Lord made it really clear. First Baptist, we've been there, is it 2 years?
2 years.
And so it's been awesome. God has let me, I got certified in yoga, and so I do things to Humane Society. I love our community because there's so many ways we can pour back in, and we know people. Like I know my bank ladies, I know pharmacists, you know, stores. It's awesome. I know it's like Mayberry, but yeah, it's a great thing. I would not leave unless God said I had to. I told John yesterday, I was like, are we too settled? Because we really love our home and our dogs, and but yeah, he said, no, I think we're supposed to put roots. It's like Jeremiah when he says, thrive where you're planted, and then our church is really ascending church as well, so it's been cool being involved with missions that ways. So
That story is a lot better than your brother-in-law's story about why they moved back.
oh, what did he
It
say?
was about the same time you probably moved back, but we were at TVA together in class, and he told us in class that they moved back, he and your sister Penny moved back because the boys were old enough to start dating, and they wanted to be close to family.
Oh.
So that's why they moved back.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what he said.
ironic, yes, because see, Dad, when we moved here, he's
I
from
never will forget
Rexboro.
that. I fell out in the floor. when he
Yeah,
said
see, Dad never wanted me to marry someone local, but then after the years, he's like, he disapproved of everyone except John. But yeah, John has been amazed too, because he had was a single dad for a few years, and he's like, who would want a pastor and 4 boys? But you know, that was exactly.
that. I was talking about Charbonnet.
Oh, I know what you mean. That, yeah. Actually, I think I've heard from him already today. He's hilarious. They used to come every Thanksgiving and Christmas, so we were really glad when they moved back because it was like our whole family could be together. And see, Matthew, Zach, and Gabe were almost like I'm and B. And it almost makes me want to cry because God has allowed me to be close to family, and I didn't know my dad would pass in 2010, and then my sister Trish in 2011. So to have Penny and Rosie and the kids, and because I have never had birth kids, so it's like God totally prepares us. Being Aunt B was like being a mom, and then being a pediatrician, and now a stepmom. So we're so thankful. Now our boys are men.
Yeah.
Now we pray more now than when they were little and could just break stuff. So now it's about all kinds of things. So, yeah. And we're so thankful. We're grandparents now because Andrew and Whitney are married, and so now we have little Jackson Joe. So it's just awesome.
Nothing like
Awesome, yes.
grandkids.
Yeah. And they don't say, oh, you're step Bill. You're just Bill. Anyway. But yeah, I'm thankful, and I'm thankful to be here during a pandemic because now, you know, you're effective before, but now it's like, okay. And it's making me study. Like even coming here today, you feel nervous because there are things that are unknown. Just to mention, you guys mentioned during the break, if you there's a test called serology. I want to speak to that because it's a blood test and you get it back in one day, but it does not confer immunity. I want to say that, like, if you have IgG positive, it takes 1 month to get antibodies after you get disease. But I've had people tell me, oh, I got it, I'm negative, I'm fine. So, sorry, I had to throw another medical thing.
No,
No.
that's
Yeah,
great information.
there's so
I'm glad
many
you had
little
that.
facts and things we're learning, so.
Well,
I've learned more than
I
I
know.
hope I won't be quizzed
I
on.
know.
If I'm quizzed on this later, I'm in trouble. But
Kelly's gonna say, well, what did they say? You know, I don't know. I can't
Listen,
even
she
regurgitate
and
that.
I are a lot alike. She did something the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, we're like sisters. That's the other thing. I feel adopted in their sisterhood. Because, see, my dad knew Jim Watt, and he always loved that he had 4 girls. So, yeah, that's the thing with the church. It's been cool to make new, even better friends than what we had. And I mean, more friends, so.
we
It's
will share this
journey.
information on the screen numbers and websites and things like that,
Right.
so that people can reach out and find more things. that they
Yeah,
do.
I mean, they have all these hotlines. But now we're saying just call us because we are so glad to be Drive Up now so we can help too.
Well, it's great, and we're thankful to have resources like that here in our community.
Absolutely.
This place is a monument to community support,
Yes.
so
Yes.
we're grateful to have that. We're grateful to have you here, serving our little ones,
Thank you.
and not so little ones. But,
Yes. And we are taking new patients.
good
I'm
enough.
like, what can I
Right.
choose this time for?
Yeah.
But I love this
Well, at the
Felix
quarantine,
Martin
there
Foundation.
may be quite a few patients coming out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
We are already seeing,
Like
well, I
the
guess
ice
we wouldn't
storm?
see it yet. Yeah.
Like the ice cream.
Yes. That was interesting.
Yeah, I think first of the year it could be a
Right.
whole new boom.
Yeah.
Did y'all notice how when the internet went down, people act like it is the ice storm? It's like, oh, I can't watch Netflix.
Right. Well, it's the state network has been out. So
Everything's
we've been
down.
fine here, but Kelly messaged me this morning, was like, the internet's down, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, there's an outage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The kids
yeah,
are
people are
probably
freaking
going
out.
nuts.
They're like it's home on the
'Cause
range.
all the TV at the house is all streaming, so they're probably like, what do we do? I'm like, read a book.
I know, exactly. Do a puzzle.
Do something, yeah.
You have a pool
Get
out
out some
back, you have a
crayons.
yard.
I know.
Yeah.
Take the
yeah.
dog for a walk.
All kinds of things to do.
It's like a
Oh.
little house on the prairie though to them, I'm sure.
Clean your room.
Oh,
Go clean your
exactly.
room.
Yes. I did.
Dad.
I don't know if this will be on there. Or this is just our talking. But kids, I have seen older kids switch to a nocturnal lifestyle.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so especially teenagers are going to bed at 5 a.m. And some of them are getting depressed and sad and anxious.
Yeah,
so
it's not good.
just making people aware. I've talked to lots of people about that, and really don't lose hope and start to work on shifting them from night shift to days because it helps kids to be awake when the sun is up and to
No,
be
that's-
around people.
That's going to be on here.
Yeah.
This
Because
older
that's
kid is
where-
fighting shifting to a nocturnal lifestyle, so I
Yeah,
understand that.
and I see it in my friends because I'm still working, but it's a lot of my friends may not be, and they'll just randomly message me at 11:44, what's up? Which I do tend to stay up late, but I always say on teenagers at least, try to shoot for midnight less. Like I don't want it to be the next day. There's something about that mentally, like at first it's kind of exciting for them, but no one else is awake. This could be a time we might see cutting, we might see unsupervised internet use, gaming. A lot of people don't realize on gaming, they can interact with anyone
Oh,
on
yeah.
an online game, and they can be on any type of YouTube or internet. So just trying to shift back. So if they're 5 a.m. for 1 week, go back to 2. And one of my moms said, are you serious, 2 a.m.? I'm like, I know. And I said to the parents, it'll be hard for you. And then after that, if you can get to midnight and then closer to school, of course, the younger kids, we want to get down to like 8:30. Older kids could be 10. You know, just really shift back because it is hard mentally.
It'll be a train wreck, I think, when we have to adapt back to it.
Listen, and the way to do it is turn off the Wi-Fi. And what mom said,
That's
they
today's
could
practice.
figure.
It was dress rehearsal.
Oh, I just tapped my microphone. Sorry,
Comcast did
but
everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
one of my moms said, but they'll put it back on. I was like, password it. They figured out the password. Lock it in your car, or throw it away. I hate to say it. I don't know. However you have to.
Yeah.
It's devices, pads, tablet, well, whatever. Kindle.
All the above.
Read a real book, like you said, with pages.
Right.
Dictionary. Something boring. It's not boring, the Bible, but it'd be edifying. Because you can't make people, can't take their eyelids shut, so
Right.
Well, you could.
you could. That would be challenging.
That's another episode. So,
It's another guess.
yes. We'll save that for another day. I think we've reached the point in the episode where we should probably stop talking. And you turned us off a long time ago. So, for the two of you that have held on to the bitter end here, we do want to thank our sponsors, as always, for their support, everything we do here at Felix C. Martin Junior Hall, and our very special guest today, Dr. Billie Galyen from the Community Health Centers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be safe out there, take care of each other, and
Okay.
let us know what we can do. Info at felixmartinhall.org. We continue to live our lives 6 feet apart.
I've been down